Welcome to our channel, the place to update the most shocking, surprising and emotional details from the fascinating TV series Beyond the Gates quickly, completely, and dramatically. If you are a fan of unpredictable twists, buried secrets, and explosive emotions that push the characters to the limit of their endurance, then this is the place for you. And today, we would like to take you to one of the turning points of joy that unexpectedly became the beginning of a tragedy that shook the entire Dupree family. The naming ceremony for the unborn baby was held at the magnificent Dupree family mansion, an event that no one in the family wanted to miss. From close relatives to powerful members of the community, everyone was present, creating a bustling atmosphere filled with joy. For Haley, who was carrying Bill's blood, it was a moment that meant more than anything she had ever experienced. She stood in the middle of the crowded auditorium with a gentle smile, her hand gently rubbing her pregnant belly, as if saying her first greetings to the little creature inside. As for Bill, the man who had bravely overcome serious illnesses, now seemed to be reborn thanks to the happiness of being a father. He stood next to Haley, his eyes shining, his face radiant, as if he wanted to shout to the whole world that he was the luckiest man. But just when everything seemed perfect, fate decided to deal a cruel and unexpected blow. While everyone was raising their glasses to toast the child's future, Bill suddenly stopped. One hand clutched his chest. His breathing became heavy, his face turned pale in an instant. Before anyone could realize what was happening, Bill's body swayed, then collapsed onto the cold marble floor, surrounded by panicked eyes. Screams echoed throughout the banquet hall. Haley almost collapsed, her legs no longer strong, her hands shaking as she tried to support her husband. She called his name in utter panic, while the Dupree family members hurriedly called for an ambulance, clearing the way for the medical team to arrive immediately. A few minutes later, the ambulance arrived. Bill was rushed straight to the emergency room while Haley and her relatives waited with heavy hearts. The initially sacred moment was now replaced by fear, doubt, and pain. The doctor refused to provide any information until the initial test results were back. Everyone could only hold their breath and hope that Bill would make it. While the whole family was sitting tensely in the hospital hallway, a young nurse from the lab walked by. She was talking on the phone, probably to a colleague, and didn't realize that she was speaking too loudly. She accidentally said something that froze the entire atmosphere around her. "That's Haley, the pregnant woman who requested a DNA test for the fetus the other day. The results showed that there was a very high possibility that the baby was not her husband's child." Immediately, everyone was stunned. That sentence, which seemed to be a backstage gossip, ignited a terrible storm. The people nearby turned their heads towards Haley with eyes of surprise, suspicion, and even anger. Haley was stunned, her lips pursed slightly, her eyes seemed to collapse for a few seconds. She felt every gaze piercing her heart, not a word, not a question, but all screaming, "Is it true?" From that moment, the real nightmare began. Haley knew that what she had been trying to hide all this time had been exposed in the worst way. She remembered clearly the fateful night when everything fell apart, the night she was alone at home, lonely and torn after Bill's long business trip, her emotions tangled in alcohol and weakness. A mistake with another man, a man who should not have existed in her life, had left consequences that she thought she could hide forever if the child was really Bill's. But the truth always had a way of revealing itself. Bill was still in the recovery room, not knowing what was happening outside. But his relatives had begun to whisper, divided into two schools of thought. One side tried to defend Haley, believing it was a mistake or a misinterpretation. The other side began to demand clarification, to ask her to explain, or at least to confirm that she had indeed taken a DNA test. The atmosphere in the waiting room became more oppressive than the hospital corridor. And in Haley's mind, everything was falling apart, her honor, her love, her family, her trust, all because of one unintentional remark. When Bill woke up, the doctor asked everyone to keep quiet, to avoid putting pressure on his mind. But Bill himself, although he did not know clearly what had happened, still clearly felt the abnormality in the eyes of the people around him. Especially Haley. The closeness between them suddenly became distant and cold. He saw torment and fear in her eyes, and he began to understand that something very serious was being hidden. In the following days, Haley lived in anxiety and pain. She knew she could not continue to hide it. But speaking out would mean destroying her own life. She was afraid of losing Bill. Afraid that the baby would not be accepted, afraid of being considered a traitor, the one who broke up a happy family. But at the same time, she also understood that if she continued to remain silent, the hurt would deepen, and at some point, everything would be irreparable. Worse, the man she had tried to cut off all contact with had suddenly reappeared. He didn't show up loudly, knock on the door or call, but Haley discovered through social media that he was in town. Check-ins, vague posts that clearly referenced her and the baby in her belly. She knew he wasn't just back out of curiosity. He was back because he believed he had a stake in the child's life, if the child was really his. And Haley feared this was just the beginning of the biggest storm of her life. Bill, meanwhile, was growing weaker by the day, not just physically, but mentally. The unanswered questions left him bewildered. The gap between him and Haley was painful. He remembered the happy moments and wondered, was it all a lie? And if the truth is too harsh, will he still have enough strength to forgive, to continue to believe, to be a father to a child who is not his own blood? Continue to accompany us to discover who will stand firm when the truth is revealed, and who will collapse when all the masks are stripped away. And don't forget to follow and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any more shocking episodes from Beyond the Gates. Thank you for watching.